Welcome to the Secure CIO, the podcast for technology executives who are tasked with hiring and retaining great cybersecurity leaders. Join best-selling author Claire Pales together with industry thought leaders as they answer your questions about sourcing the right leaders, building cybersecurity teams, candidate selection, salaries, skills, and more.
Hello, I'm Claire Pales and welcome to the Secure CIO podcast. Today's guest is Jacqui Loustau. Jacqui has 19 years of international experience in a range of technologies and practical experience across multiple security domains within different industry sectors. This includes working on various high-profile projects within the European Commission, UK government, NHS and the finance sectors. Jacqui currently works for Cynch Security, where they are helping small businesses get and stay cyber fit. She's passionate about security, enabling tech and collaborating with others to drive innovation and behaviour change in industry. Jacqui is also the founder of the Australian Women in Security Network, the AWSN, in her spare time, which aims to connect, support and inspire more people, particularly women, to pursue a career in security. She's the co-author of an international book, Women in Security Profession, and feels honoured to have received several awards for her work in influencing an all-inclusive security industry. Jacqui, I am thrilled to have you with me on the podcast today. As one of the first women in security that I met when I returned from overseas, I was uplifted by your passion for the security industry and encouraging women to join us. I'm really looking forward to sharing your thoughts today. Jacqui, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Claire.
So let's start with you. Give us a short history of how you got to where you are today.
I've always been interested in technology, and I think that came from my parents who were really early adopters of technology. So that really helped me with this love of technology. They used to make me do typing all the time, every day after school. And if I didn't do 15 minutes of typing, I would be grounded. At the time, I really hated it, but in the end, I really, really appreciated the fact that they did that for me. That was the best gift that they could possibly have given me. So when it came to the decision on, what I wanted to do, I wanted to do technology. So I did some work experience at Australia Post, and I loved it so much there, and they seemed to like me too, that they offered me a part-time role during university. So I was working in their help desk. I also did some PC support during that time as well. And when I graduated, I became a Unix administrator, which I really enjoyed and loved as well. While I was working as a Unix administrator, I really had a passion for wanting to go to Europe. So I went to Europe and, the usual traveling, ran out of money, needed to get a job. So I went back to what I know, which is help desk. So I worked on a help desk and really enjoyed that time. But they moved the help desk to Ireland, and I didn't want to move to Ireland because there weren't any airports there. I mean, there was an airport there, but I wanted to travel. That was my primary purpose for being in Europe. And I said to them, look, London is where I want to base myself because I want to be able to travel on weekends. They were the kind of decisions you make when you're young. So they said, okay, well, what would you like to do? We'd love to keep you. So I said, well, being a consultant could be interesting. So they put me through 6 weeks of intensive training, which was a fantastic opportunity. And there I had to do my CCNA. So I learned about networking for the first time, touched my first router. I did my SAN security course as well. So that's where I got my love for security. Project management, they even taught us how to drive. It was really random because it was oil and gas company. Yeah, it was really incredible. Really great opportunity. Really hard time for me, 6 weeks of intensive training, and we had to pass exams every weekend. So it was pretty full on. By the end of it, they asked me what I wanted to do, and that was the turning point really here. I didn't want to do networking. I wanted to do security, and ever since then, I've been in security. So most of my time in security, I worked 7 years in London on, as you mentioned in the introduction, on high-profile projects across London and Europe. And then I moved to France to work there for 7 years as well. as a security consultant. So most of my career has been working on different projects, from technical implementations to risk assessments. I've even worked at the Olympics, which was really cool, at the Athens Olympics, helping out with their IT over there, which was a really great experience. And when I came back to Australia, it was my first time in corporate after being a consultant for so long. So I worked in an identity access management project. And it was really interesting being on the other side of the fence from being a consultant and then being internal. And when my contract ran out, I was looking for new roles. So I applied for a cybercrime role. There was a couple of people that said to me, "You're not going to get it. It's too high for you. It's an associate director of cybercrime." And I went, "Do you know what? I'm going to go for it anyway." And I got it and I loved it. That's where I got my real passion for trying to help in that space, cybercrime. And that's where I said, okay, well, there's a whole lot of small businesses and medium-sized businesses out there that really need help. So that's where my passion for small businesses came from. And after that, I wanted to try something different. And so I've moved to the other side of the fence, and now I'm at a startup called Cynch.
There is so much in that last few minutes of you talking that I could absolutely pull out, and we could have a podcast on each of those things. I mean, the fact that the organisation you worked for put you through all that training has obviously set you in amazing stead for the career that you've got now. What I want to talk about now is I mentioned in your bio that you are the founder of the AWSN, an amazing group. And I was hoping that you could tell the listeners a little bit about the AWSN and what drove you to start it.
So it's funny, I didn't really notice that I was the only woman in my team for most of my security consulting life. It just wasn't something that I thought about until actually last week when I was preparing for another conference. And, you know, because men have always really supported me throughout my career, and I have never actually felt discriminated at all when it comes to my career. And the main times that I guess I noticed was when I went to conferences. Because I would be mistaken for a booth babe, and people always thought that I was in the marketing department or something, or I was in the wrong place. And that was a shame. So when I came to Australia, I remember going to my first security event, and because I hadn't known anybody, I didn't know anyone in Australia. My network was all in Europe. And the first time I came to Australia, I walked into this event. I remember just going, oh, wow, okay. Just a sea full of men, and I just felt really intimidated at that point. And I'm a very social person, and I just didn't feel I couldn't go and actually speak to anyone. I was like, wow, I know no one in this room. Who can I talk to? And I didn't feel so welcome, I guess. I've talked about this a few times. I escaped to the bathroom, and there I met I met Helene. A lot of you know Helene in this industry, and I just went to her, look, I know nobody here. I'm feeling a little bit intimidated. Can I just hang out with you? And that was the point where I just went, you know what? I'm sure that there's other women out there like myself who just want to connect with another woman, and to be able to go into a conference or into another event and know a few people. And so we started to put together like a casual breakfast where we would meet up just before a conference, have a little bit of a chat, and then go into a conference confidently kind of together. And that's kind of how it started. And then I went, okay, there must be other women out there. So I started this LinkedIn group, and it quickly grew. And that's how my baby started, really. So I went, okay, well, I'm a connector. I want to bring more people together. Why don't we actually do that? And so we kind of started the AWSN that way. And so it started off as casual breakfasts. It then turned into formal events, and it's grown to different states now as well, which is great. And what we want to do is to try and give people an opportunity to connect. So that's one of our first objectives, to connect with other women, to support other women as well. We also met up with some university students who they had doubts on whether or not they wanted to pursue a career still in security. One girl said to me, she came up to me after I did a talk and said, "Thank you so much for coming. I've had all these male students who have actually told me that I shouldn't be in security because it's only for men and you're not technical enough. And it just broke my heart when I heard that, because that was something that I don't want to hear from anybody. I want everyone to have an equal opportunity to do something that they like, and security has a lot in it. There's technical roles, there's non-technical roles, and we need that diversity of thought in this industry.
Jacqui, I'm sure that you never could have imagined just a few years ago that the AWSN would now be an association with a board, sponsorship, initiatives, and you have so many global peers. What lessons have you learned from parenting or raising the network from its beginnings as a LinkedIn group to an organisation across multiple states?
I do consider AWSN kind of like my baby. I'm continuously overwhelmed by the support that we have across the industry for AWSN. Everyone in this community has been really fantastic at supporting our cause and what we do. And just last year alone, we held 32 events across Australia. My vision is that we want to collaborate with as many partners and like-minded initiatives and people as possible. We kind of see ourselves as a conduit to different things that are happening in industry. You know, this industry, you can totally understand this, Claire. There's a lot of really great security meetup groups. There's a lot of people doing great things in this industry, and we want to be that kind of funnel to, okay, there's a really great initiative over here that is in a particular area that you're interested in, and direct them to that. This is your particular area that you're wanting to focus on, and be able to push people towards that. So we really are a network of trying to help women with whatever objectives they have. When it comes to parenting this network, it's hard work. I actually have discussions with my coach, I reckon, every 6 months when it gets too much. I'm lucky enough that she picks up the phone and goes, okay, we know that this comes in cycles. What's going on? Because I just go, okay, this is too much. I can't do it. I have to quit. It does get overwhelming.
I really thank you for being so honest about the fact that it's not an easy thing to do, but because of your passion for it, you continue on. And I want to talk about the fact that you're an amazing role model, and we have both taken part in research in the past around women in security and the fact that the numbers are so low. Why is retention such a challenge? You know, we took part in particular some Australian government research a couple of years back, and one of the key concerns that came out then for women was a lack of role models in the profession. Do you think this is still the case, or what do you think is being done to change the situation so that more women are visible?
So I think that industry has been doing a really great job of really showing and supporting many women in our industry. We can actually see that by the support that we're getting for the AWSN. And I think that we are getting there. Like at the time that we were doing that survey and that study, I think that was like an 11%. That's raised now to around 20 to 21% now, which shows progress. Whether or not, you know, that's because we're recognising the women are coming out of the woodworks is maybe one of those aspects, but also it's positive. It's going up in the right direction, if anything. What we're wanting to do this year as part of AWSN is to actually do a specific survey on women in security in Australia. So we'll be doing something along those lines later this year to really understand and get a really good baseline as to what that is, and to track that over time. I think also last year we had the Project Friedman initiative, and that really helped those women to get the confidence to speak at conferences. So they've become really great role models to a lot of people in their organisations. And to the AWSN Awards last year as well also highlighted all the great things that women are doing in this industry as well, which is really inspiring.
So I want to talk a little bit more about where you're working now. So speaking of female role models, you're now working for Susie at Cynch, which is a great Australian startup. So tell us about why you left a big corporate to join a small business, and what reflection process did you go through to land on this as your next career move?
So I was working at a large financial institution beforehand, and I really loved job sharing. That was fantastic. I really loved my team, loved all the opportunities they gave me, but I was starting to miss delivery. And I'm, as a very delivery-focused person, I just wanted to get things done, and I found I didn't have the time to do that when I was managing a team and a function. I want to do everything, and I want to do it well. So I knew that I needed a change. And after leaving my cybercrime role, I knew that I just felt that I really wanted to help small businesses because I felt that they needed help more than anyone else. I wasn't getting any younger, and I want to kind of help people a lot more, and I wanted to spend more time with my family. I wanted to be able to spend more time on the AWSN as well. And so I thought I'd like to have a change from the corporate life, and most importantly, to be less stressed and have a better work-life balance. So one day I got a call from Susie, who had been, seeing each other in different industry events, and she said that they were going to start hiring soon, and asked, okay, do you know anyone that would be interested in joining them? And after that conversation, I just couldn't stop thinking about whether possibly that could be me. And so I started to have more serious discussions with Cynch about it, and that's how it came about.
There's been some media today actually that was released by the ABC about the success of the 4-day week. So they've been trialling the 4-day week with a number of organisations, and you've worked JobShare previously. I think you're working a 3-day week, and then when COVID came along, you've been working a 4-day week, but you've also been homeschooling. And the research is suggesting that companies have been talking to return to work mums about how they balance everything, and the listeners can't see me doing air quotes, but you get that. What's your experience been about getting it all done, productivity-wise, in less work days each week, and still, I guess, being able to feel productive and that you're achieving what you're setting out to achieve?
Job share roles are great because for companies, they get to have two minds in one role, which is really great. I mean, where are you going to get, you see these job descriptions where it says, okay, you need to be technical, you need to be able to talk to board, you need to be able to write, you need to be able to do, there's a really long list of different attributes that you need in a perfect person, which a lot of the unicorn does not exist in a lot of places. But when you have a job share, you can actually get two different minds with different experiences. So for a company, that is a really great option. When it comes to the working arrangement, it's great because you get to switch off. That was what I really enjoyed about JobShare. You get to switch off those last 2 days, the 2 days that you're not working, and really trust the other person's going to get on and actually do that, which was really great. When it came to working 4 days, which is what I'm doing today at the moment, so during the COVID-19 isolation period, my company were very flexible in terms of working, which was great. So I was homeschooling in the morning, and in the afternoon I was then working. So that worked extremely well for our household, but I couldn't have done that without my husband taking equally the weight as well. So for him, he has loved this as well. And I'm sure there's a lot of dads out there that have really enjoyed this period because they're getting to spend a lot of time with family. It's a really great opportunity for families to try out this balance. I think that's really great in that sense. And in terms of productivity, I find that I'm a lot more productive because I know that I only have 6 hours in a day to be able to do something. I take a really short lunch break. I take hardly any breaks. Because I just want to smash things out and just get it done. And I really feel that it's not the quantity of hours or the number of hours that you're working, but it's actually the quality. And as long as your manager said, okay, you need to X, Y, Z, and you deliver that, when you do it, and is really should be up to the discretion of the employee that you hopefully trust. We have so part of my team, some of them work in the middle of the night. They just prefer to do things during the day, and they'll actually work at nighttime, and that is possible. And they're a lot more productive as well. They just smash it out at nighttime because they have no interruptions, no meetings, etc. So they really do what works best for them.
The point I want to pick up on is that you mentioned about trust then, and I think that flexibility, working from home, 4 days a week, job share, any of that, it all comes back to trust. The organisation trusts that you're getting the job done, and you trust that they are allowing you to be able to do this without any sort of ramifications or impact on you from a salary perspective or from an outcomes perspective. So, and obviously the world is going to be different now, and we've learnt what it's like to work from home, and everybody's finding out whether or not it's their thing or not. So you've gone in eyes wide open into a job share situation. You went into Cynch saying, I want to work 4 days a week. I think that is a really key thing for women and men who want flexibility to come and be upfront at the very start and say, this is what I need. Is this something your organisation would be open to?
And I think that open, honest discussion is really important. And it's not about, it's a discussion and not a demand, because the last thing that a manager wants is to feel cornered into making those kind of decisions as well. So I think that's really important. And you also hit on another point, which I want to make, is that for any of these schemes to work, it needs to be equal. So it's not just women that are getting this flexible working, but it should also be the men as well, being able to have that opportunity to be able to spend time with the family and do the other things that they enjoy. It's also for the people that don't have families. They might have a particular passion that they want to pursue, like a study or something, and they should be allowed to be able to do the things that they're passionate about in life.
I want to finish up by asking you, in your role at the AWSN, clearly you're a role model. We've talked about that, but people confide in you. They come and talk to you. They ask you questions. You've had such a varied career, and you are exposed to lots of different people and the ups and downs that they've had as well. What would you say are some of the most common discussions you're having with security leaders? And given the audience of the podcast, thinking about maybe recruitment and job search and careers, what are people asking you? What are some of the challenges that security people or professionals are coming up against when they're looking for work and trying to plan out their careers?
One of the questions that I get quite a lot is, how do I get into security? So there's a lot of different ways to get into security. And I think our industry needs more people that have got different diverse backgrounds. So people that have come from HR backgrounds, people that come from maybe the physical security side of the fence, other people that are in different areas that may have solved the problems that we're facing today in security that they may have done in their particular industry. So a lot of people come over and say, well, how do I get into security? And my answer to a lot of that is, there are a lot of groups out there that you can go to one of their webinars, go to one of their events, and to hear about the different areas of security. There's also a lot of online training websites that can help with some of that as well. So, for example, LinkedIn Learning is one that has quite a lot of the basics in terms of security, so it can give you a very broad, basic understanding of security. Then you have other organizations that do the more technical training, if that's what you want to get into. But as a starting point, it can be good to start with that, just to see if you actually like it already as well, and to talk to people in industry as well. So going to those events, when they were face-to-face, it was great, because then you could talk to people and know a little bit more about what roles are. But in the absence of that, there are still a lot of webinars that are going on at the moment, and a lot of them are free, so you should take advantage of those.
I think it's a really good point, because the world has shifted a little bit. Things that were only available, or sessions or training that was only available to people who were members, or people who were alumni, or people who were aware of particular webinars going on. Previously, it was kind of closed doors, whereas now there's so much more that's opened up to people to get a better understanding. And I wrote a blog a couple of years ago about how security leaders should bring people with them to conferences who aren't in security, so they can see what the security world is like and what we talk about and what some of our challenges are. And I think that more than ever, your point around our industry needing people from other verticals, more than ever now, I think we need people leaders and HR staff and marketers and communication specialists and tech leaders, but from, diverse areas to come into security and learn how their role can adapt or their skills can adapt to security. So it doesn't surprise me that that's one of the key questions you get, because it is an exciting industry to work in, but getting in can be a challenge. And so I think, the fact that you're able to give that advice is pretty great.
And getting entry-level positions, that is a harder question to answer, because there aren't so many entry-level positions out there. A lot of the roles today require a little bit of experience, but I think it's about expanding your network and finding those opportunities through that way.
And the people that I've seen be incredibly successful from a grad point of view are people like yourself who've taken the effort during university to find work, to get summer internships or to get jobs on help desks, or, you can't necessarily step into a security team without any experience, but you can step into IT roles maybe a little bit easier and get some experience, so that when you get out of uni, you're not straight out of a textbook.
That's right. And that technical foundation is priceless. Like, to be able, to have that background in any kind of technology, I think can really help in that sense. The other tip also is for women that are wanting to get into security. We've created the AWSN Cadets Initiative, which helps university students and women that have just entered into the field for 3 years or less. And what we do is we expose them to different companies that are doing that have security roles and are in different areas of security. So they go through technical workshops, etc., as well, and even how to write your CV, how to get a job in security and have that interview, those types of things. So I think there's probably other initiatives out there of similar nature that I'm not aware of, but the one that we work with, we've got like 79 cadets at the moment going through that. So that they found that quite useful, and a lot of them have found jobs in security.
Jacqui, it's been great. I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for a while, and it's good to have a bit of a fireside chat today. So thank you so much for joining me and our listeners. And I'll put some details in the show notes about how people can contact you and how they can get in touch with the AWSN. And good luck with the growth of the network. And thank you so much on behalf of everybody in our industry, men and women, for doing what you do.
Thank you very much for having me, Claire.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for listening. For more information on all our guests, check out the show notes at thesecurecio.com, where you can also find more information on the Secure CIO framework and sign up for my newsletter. If you loved the show, please subscribe to the podcast and feel free to leave me a 5-star rating. I'll see you next week.